Buckle up, you guys ready to dig a little deep?
Sure.
We're gonna start off thinking real heavy. I wanna talk about stars. Okay? Because I think stars have a lot to teach us. I think stars can teach us that sometimes we need a little darkness to see the light real clear. I think it's also important to take note. The stars don't fight the darkness. They don't struggle against the darkness. They just be themselves. They just be stars. They just shine their light and illuminate. That's what they do. That's what they are. Now, where the faith comes in and is because on cloudy nights, we can't see them. If we're in well-lit places, it's hard to see them. But we know the light is still there, right? It's always there. It's always shining. Even in the middle of a bright, sunny day, we know that the stars are still there, illuminating, right? Now, the trick is our lives. It gets hard sometimes when we're being inundated with all this junk, all this yuck, all this bad stuff that's happening and supposedly happening and all this kind of stuff. In life, it's hard sometimes to see past the darkness, past the cloudiness, to see that the light is still shining. I think it's really cool because I happened upon, this always happens, William Shakespeare in Hamilton has a quote that says, "There is nothing like either good or bad, but it's the thinking that makes it so."
Yeah, very true.
Did you get that? Pick it up? Good. So the question is where is our attention and our focus and our feelings coming from? How are they operating within us? And where are they going afterwards? So as us, as humans, one of the things we can do to help ourselves in the world is to kind of pay attention to our own patterns. Because as we go through life, we pick up all kinds of things to survive, to get by, to get through things that are situational. And sometimes we get attached to things, and they may not serve us anymore. It might be time to let them go so we're not continuing to repeat unhealthy patterns. This is an opportunity for us to heal and shift accordingly. Because honestly, has anybody in this room gotten this far in life, unfazed, untouched, unaffected by dysfunction, unhealthiness, toxicity? Anybody? Because if there is, you're the unicorn. Because these kinds of things in life, very easily, we pick up things. We become hypervigilant, people pleasers. We become people that, put other needs, desires above our own. And we learn to be small. We learn to be less. We learn to speak softer and differently so that we're accepted and people like us. And we even try to control, because if you're living with a time bomb, whether it's a boss or a partner or a family member, you try to control the environment, right? Because you don't want that thing going off. Okay? And we overanalyze and we overthink. These are all valuable skills that has helped us survive these things. But now it's important for us to grow and expand and evolve and let go of these things that could now be hindrances to us. Because we have learned to accept unacceptable behavior, thinking that's the way we're going to be loved, cared for, and accepted. Whether it's a family member, a partner, a boss, a friend, anybody, there comes a time where we have to decide enough is enough. To detach, to let it go, to accept there's an end to things, to love ourselves, to accept ourselves, and then move on. This is not about perfection, it is about positive progress. So, I think breakdowns really get a bad rap. And naturally we think of that they're destructive, hurtful, harmful, they create pain. But do they? What what actually causes us those things. I think that breakdowns can actually be looked at differently. They are the things that mold us. They are the things that teach us. They are the things that allow us to let go of things that are heavy, that we don't need, that aren't working, that we're struggling against. It gives us a chance to get rid of stuff and to change our perspective. Okay, so I had a friend, and I want to let you know, this is kind of an interesting story because this friend actually took this journey. They left, they were in kind of a turmoilous place in their life where just nothing felt right. The kids, the house, the husband, life in general. Just a rough spot. And went through a tough time, a journey, which could look as something dark and heavy. I kind of thought that it was a good therapy. So basically, they went through this process of walking through life, of all these things that were heavy and hard for them. And they thought about what it would be like to not have them and to be without them until they got all the way to the bottom and were like, oh my God, I am hurting. I am empty. This is tough. But then once they felt, dealt, and worked through some of that, journeyed back up that hill and picked up all the things that had been dropped off along the way. And guess what? At the top, those kids were awesome. That husband was the best. That house was great, dirty or not. Went from a place. And I mean, what was cool is they were able to process this in just this moment to come out as gratitude at the other end. Well, that could be looked at as a breakdown that ended up being into a breakthrough. And we oftentimes need those breakdowns to be the catalysts to inspire us, to make us realize there's something going on. So understand, you know me, my science mind, the minute that you decide to change your perspective or change and shift, you are actively rewiring the chemistry in your body. This is significant and this is important. So, you know I'm always shooting for joy and happiness. I do. I really feel like as human beings in this body, we should be enjoying this journey more and having more fun. But I want us to really consider something, not out of fear, but that I want us to live like our health depends on it, because it does. Your emotional, mental, and physical well-being depends on your perspective. Let me explain something. There was actually some scientists in Israel that were doing this science or this experiment, and they had a participant and they took some of the blood and were in the next room looking at it under a microscope. So this person's at first just hanging out. Well, they're finding an interesting thing about this cell. It's got bacteria in it, and it's got the microphages. They're the cleanup crew. I knew you would know.
Microphages.
Okay, that's it.
Microphages.
I'm just going to call them the cleanup crew for the rest of this. Yeah. So, and the cleanup crew are right there with bacteria, and they're all just hanging out. Nothing's really happening. And they thought this was kind of interesting. Well, unbeknownst to them, the person in the room starts watching a show that is a comedy. And they're laughing, and their mood shifts. Guess what happens to that cell in the next room under the microscope? Those cleaning crew woke up. They started munching on that bacteria like it was lunch without breakfast. Whoa! So of course, they had to flip it and do another way. So they had them look and watch something that was more horror and scary and fear related. And then it was interesting because the bacteria got them a real attitude. They actually started beefing up and pushing up against the cleaning crew. So what we can get from this, guys, I know I tried to have some fun with it, but what we can get from this is our moods and what we subject ourselves to affects our immunity. It affects our well-being. The question is, who and how are you allowing to control and influence. Yes. That's conscious. Eckhart Tolle says that we should use unhappiness as a sign to return back into the present and our awareness. That uses it as an indicator to shift our focus to stop suffering. Stop suffering. Realize that. So where's our focus? Is it on old ways? Because old ways don't open new doors. Old ways are, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. It's falling apart, nobody cares, whatever. Whereas, perhaps, this is an interesting time where things are being unveiled, lies are dropping, things are shedding that need to be. Because I've said it before, any system that is based and built on fear and control is going to crash with truth. It is going to fall apart with truth. So what's truth? We are. We're the truth. Because we are these magnificent, phenomenal, spiritual beings enjoying a human body. That's important for us to own that and be our truth. We've talked many times about, we all know we're energetic beings. We all know that our energy and our emotion emits whether we like it or not. So this is another time. Take a really good look at yourself. An honest look, loving and non-judgmental look at yourself. Are you complaining? Are you regurgitating the negative? Are you evoking stress and anxiety, not only in yourself, but in the people around you? And again, in a loving, gentle, kind, and non-judgmental way, embrace that shadow and say, ooh, I can do something about this. I can heal now. Because guys, now more than ever, we are being asked to raise our vibration and operate from a higher level. Are you getting the message? It's time. It's time to shift, to transfer, to be, to embrace sovereignty, to embrace freedom. So there's this concept, it's called the wild horse effect. The concept is there's this horse in the plains, living its life out, no problem. When a bat swoops down and bites it, and it starts to panic, it starts to freak out, it begins to run because it doesn't know what else to do. All it wants to do is get away from this pain. All it wants to do is get itself away from these feelings to escape. It actually runs itself to a point of collapse. And it actually dies from pure exhaustion. Now this was a bat bite, which is really kind of small. The blood loss was minor, and yet it actually died from its own overreaction to what could have been a minor wound. None of us ever do that, do we? So, I know you've heard this. It's 10% of what happens to you, and it's 90% of how you react. So, how much of the outside stuff are we letting get in us and bring us down? Sometimes it is big stuff. Sometimes it's accumulation of small stuff. My friends and I call it death by paper cuts. Just a lot of paper cuts. By the end of the day, you're like, you know, it could be a dumb comment. It could be a silly reel you see. It could be a coworker. It could be some story you overhear that rubs you wrong. It could be somebody cutting you off in traffic. I own that one. But it's still backbites, right? How do we react to it? And this isn't about pretending that things don't happen, because things are going to happen. But it's how we decide to go forward and act in it and with it. This brings me to something that I've had a couple of bump-ins here lately with this whole concept, and it's gone on forever. Fate and destiny versus free will. Is there a reason why it has to be either or, black and white? Could it be gray? I don't know, the more I learn, there's a whole lot more gray in life than I ever realized. Because I do think that when we decide to come into this human world, there are things that we accept, know, and even ask for to happen in our journey. So I do think there's some fate and destiny. There's going to be some things that are going to happen no matter what you do, how positive you are, how good you think, or how high your vibration is. You know what's going to happen. It's going to. But then it falls into the free will part of it. This is where it becomes, how do we decide to deal with it? How do we decide to move forward with it? Do we override the fear and come into an active awareness? So there's this site that I found this post. It was about, it's Buddha's teaching. And it says, yesterday I was clever and I wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise and I'm changing myself. So Craig Braden and Joe Dispenza do a lot of work together. And they too have a post where they put all this stuff in. I just read about this German scientists that were doing some research out of the University of Kassel. And, you know, they're basically studying and examining photons, which is basically light waves, okay? And what they found is that an average person on an average day emits about 20 photons per second or whatever out of their chest area. By meditating, it rises to 100,000 photons coming out of a person. Just by meditating. Imagine what we could do with that kind of light and power if we were infusing it with love and joy and peace. That's what I want us to do. I want us to move through life with the place and space of, this is going to work out. I might not know how, who, when, but my life and in this, it's going to work out. No matter what. Everything's going to happen. It's about us deciding how we want to move forward with it. So let's take a breakdown and see it for what it is. It's not something that's trying to break us, take us down, or have any destruction. It's here to make us aware. Like my friend, she went from a not so great place down into like reality of how bad it really could be, back to absolute gratitude, and brought a whole new perspective on how life can be. So let's look at breakdowns as a positive thing. Wouldn't it be great if we could actually step back, like Eckhart Tolle says, and say, wow, this is a breakdown, but I get it. It's okay. I realize things are happening. It's all going to be good. Actually be from a place of love and light. And be the stars that shine, rain, cloudy, darkness, lightness, all the time. And we just get to be the star that we're meant to be. Namaste.